You count. Go
Okay.
for it.
Hi, this is Russ Trezera. Tonight we're doing a presentation on 10 things to improve your photography. I'll be moderating the discussion after each segment. This was presented on the grid, which you can look at on YouTube, and it was 10 things you can do to improve your photography. I just had to click off something. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything there. Okay, so we're going to play the first segment here. Can you all see the grid?
So far, so good.
Okay, here we go.
Today on the grid, it's 10 things photographers should start doing in 2023. Eric, the can of ham, he's Jimmy Jam, the only real rocket man, is in the house. By the way, for you old folks, that means better job. So welcome, everybody. Today on the grid, it's 10 things photographers should start doing in 2023. Today, our topic is 10 things that photographers should start doing in 2023. And Eric and I have put together a list like if we were going to hang out with somebody and say, you got 6 months left in 2023, kind of. How are you going to make the most of it? Like, how are you going to end this year and really feel like you advanced in your photography, you made a difference? What can you do? Well, we've got 10 things that we're going to talk about here today.
I'm excited for that because, I mean, it was funny because we did 5 things kind of independent of one another.
Yep.
And they're really awesome. I mean, I can't believe it came together so as well as it did.
You know why? Because
I'll tell you one thing that's not going to be on the list. I can't going through it.
By gear.
It won't be gear. It won't be.
Won't be by gear.
One.
There's no.
Not one.
I wouldn't tell somebody you need to buy this lens. You need to buy this camera body. You need to buy whatever. So let's just go ahead. We'll start with number 1 right here.
All right, number 1 on
number 1 on my screen. That's number 1 on my screen. It's got a big 1. My first one of 10, not my first break. My first one would be to create a portfolio. I think every photographer needs to do this, even if you never show your portfolio to anyone, even if you're the only person that sees it. And the reason why I think it's so important is, number 1, I talk to so many photographers and I'll ask them, I'd like to see your work, what do you got? And they're like, well, let me get my phone. And, do you have a portfolio I can look at? Do you have a website? No. I'm like, you spent how much on your gear? You spend how much time? You fly around the world. You do all these things, and your images, your best images, they're just somewhere on your computer. So first off, this is a really great exercise for photographers because when you have to put together a portfolio, and let's say that you shoot 2 things. Let's say you shoot people and landscapes. Well, it causes you to. These tally lights are driving me crazy. Sorry, a tally light, for those of you watching at home, is a light that comes on that tells you to look which camera to look at. But
he's technically the lights not looking at the right camera anymore.
They're jumping from thing to thing. Like, I don't know what's going on with these things. Anyway, but I'm looking over there. I don't know if it's the right one. Oh,
no, it's not. Wow. Just look somewhere out there.
Okay. Anyway, so when you have to sit down and go through the process of, I need to pick 24 photos that are my best people shots and 24 landscape. Number 1, it's just a good exercise. Here's what it will tell you. It will tell you where you are as a photographer at this stage in your career. And one of 3 things is going to happen. You're going to put 24 together and you're going to go, dang, I'm better than I thought. Right? You're going to put your photos together. It could be really like, wow, I'm really, when I look at just my best photos, which is what every serious photographer shows. You don't show your worst photos. You just show your best ones. You might be surprised at how well you're doing, which is inspiring and can help move you. Number 2 is you might find out, okay, I need a little work to do. I need some stuff to do. I'm not really thrilled with what I see here. I could do better.
Yeah.
Or number 3 is you might go, holy cow, I got a lot of work to do. But no matter what it is, no matter what the answer is, you have an answer.
But then you got something to go.
You now know I need to work harder. I need to change this. Why aren't my images look like? What do I need to do to progress? So it's very good. Now, also, once you have this done, then you also you have something you can share with other people. You can share with friends or family. And let me tell you, when you have an actual online portfolio, it will change people's perception of your seriousness as a photographer. And because a serious photographer would have a portfolio.
And you know what's great about this? We're talking about this on the grid. There is a way for you to get your portfolio. Most of us have Photoshop or Lightroom, right?
Yes.
And we're subscribed to Photoshop or Lightroom.
Yes.
We have the ability to have a free portfolio from your photography plan that you can hook up to your own domain and have your own name on, and you could have it up tonight. And in fact, you have a class on KelbyOne just on how to do that, just on how to get your portfolio up on.
I do that. That was my whole next thing.
I know.
Kind of stole that.
Well, it's because it's too great.
It's just
too great.
Say all what he just.
So what I said.
That's what he just said. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Go to portfolio.adobe.com. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go to myportfolio.com. Yep. Myportfolio.com. It's included in your Adobe subscription. There's templates. You choose a template. You'll have it up tonight. And if you're concerned, go watch my class on KelbyOne. I take you through the entire process from beginning to end, and you will have a professional looking, slick portfolio up tonight. It is, it's all kind of done for you. It's just waiting for you to put up your stuff. Okay.
And they walk you through all of it. Like if you want to connect your own domain, super simple.
Yeah. So that is number one of the 10 things that you can do this year that will help you as a photographer. And it's going to help you in numerous ways. People's perception of you, knowing where you are as a photographer. And by the way, when you're done, you'll know whether to share with other people or not. If you're like, oh man, I got a lot of work to do, you may be the only one that ever sees it, but it's still worth the exercise. It'll still let you know where you are. So you have something you can share. It doesn't cost you any money. It's going to give you a baseline of where you are as a photographer. There's so many good things. It may find you work. It may help you sell your work. There's all kinds of benefits to having a portfolio. And that's number one.
Yep.
Now, oh, look at that comment from Rick there.
Yeah, Rick saying portfolio class is so amazing. It made getting my portfolio set up so easy and straightforward.
Thank you, Rick. There you go. Unsolicited testimony.
Okay, so that's the end of the first segment. Any discussion at this point in time?
Hi, this is Cheryl. Just a clarification. So in the video they mentioned to go to myportfolio.com, and in the chat it says portfolioadobe.com. Are they the same?
Right.
Okay, that's really good because I prepared a couple more presentation slides to show you where to go, and I will show that to you now. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Okay, so here we go. We'll go back to share screen. And here we go. This is the this is your Adobe app page in Adobe. And if you go to the left side where my little cursor is going, I hope you're seeing a cursor or a plus sign. You you go down this, and right below here is where the app is. And so I'm going to go back to share the screen again and go to the next slide, which is this one here. Here we go. And you can see right here under, oh, did I pull up the same one again? Oh, let's see, categories, photo,
There it is.
apps. Where? There. I missed it.
Below resource links, where it says portfolio. Is that what you're looking for?
Okay, there we go. You go there. Okay. I'll end this one. And then when you go to the next one, I do have these in order. It will bring up, well, come on. Oh, there we go. I know my problem. What I am doing is I'm not seeing the same thing you're seeing. Okay. That's where my problem. It's not coming up on my screen. So that's why I'm a little confused. Okay, now I'm good. Okay. That's the next screen that you're going to see. And then the next one after that is it will take you to this screen here, which is the first one there is setting up your template for that. Okay. And then the last screen will be the that's 4, 5. This other screen will be the setting up your template for your cover page. And that's basically where you can go to sit there and see that. So now let me get rid of all of those because I don't need to see
The
them.
answer to the question is yes. The link in the that I put in the chat will take you straight to that page. There's multiple ways to get there.
Yes, you're right, Bruce. Absolutely. Okay. I just flubbed again. There we go. All righty. So the next one, we're going to go ahead and continue with the presentation. I'm sorry, I should ask the question. Is there any more discussion or questions on how to do your own portfolio? Okay, I'll go ahead. You'll like this next one. Join a local photo group. That's their next suggestion, and here we go.
Is join a local photo group. You really want to get connected with your local community, with other people, like-minded people that are going to go out and do stuff, you know, like in your local community, because the best way to improve your photography is to practice, is to go out there and practice multiple things, doing different genres. Don't just do one thing, because over time, as you learn, you're going to learn things from wedding photography that you can apply to aviation photography and stuff from landscape photography that you can apply to wildlife photography. It's going to be that. So if you're plugged in with a local photo group, it really helps to not only get out there and challenge you, but then just another group of people that can help you through this photography journey that you're on.
Yeah, you know, photography is more fun with somebody
It
else.
is.
You
It's
know,
more fun.
Eric and I
Definitely
like to
is.
go out shooting a lot, and Eric
Yeah.
seems to attract people wherever he goes. So even if he goes out by himself, people just kind of show up where he's at. But it is a lot of fun, and you also can share ideas when you're out there. You're like, "Oh, did you see that? Or have you tried this?" Or it's just, you know, and a lot of photography, like you're doing long exposures or something, you're just kind of
Sitting
standing there.
Yeah, you're waiting.
You just kind of waiting. It's
Or
like,
you're waiting for the light to change. That's another thing. While when I'm doing landscape photography, a lot of times we're waiting for the light to change.
yep,
So you're just out there. You know it's going to be about 10-15 minutes away.
yeah.
And then you just start talking.
And you know what? Here's some topics: politics,
Oh,
religion, gun control.
Oh.
Any of those, I think,
Yeah.
is
I
great
say
icebreaker.
stick to photography topics. You know, stuff
Yes.
about your camera.
Yes.
All that good
Yes.
stuff.
Not that other
You
stuff.
can get in very heated arguments with people that you just met in a local photo group about the camera brand that you shoot with.
Sure.
It's definitely a good topic to
Yeah,
bring
make fun of their camera brand. That works.
up. That's a good icebreaker. I've actually had people try to do that as an icebreaker. It's not the best.
It's not.
Of course,
not
I
good.
turn around and say, I could care less about what camera you give me. I'll shoot with yours
Yeah, I'll
if you want
shoot
to
with whatever.
trade.
You know what? All the cameras are good today.
Yep.
All the cameras are good. If you get
Yep.
a Canon, if you get a Nikon, you get a Sony, an Olympus, or System O, no,
Yep.
System M,
Yep.
whatever the new name for Olympus is, Fuji, Canon, Sony, they all make great cameras. They all take great pictures. If I had to switch brands tomorrow, I wouldn't be crushed. I'd be like, okay, I'm still gonna have a great
I really
camera.
love that mirrorless camera that Apple makes myself.
Oh, they make a very nice. Apple's mirrorless camera is
It's
fantastic.
It's phenomenal. It's amazing what it does in camera.
Small, lightweight,
Yeah.
connected to the internet, has
But
all kinds of
it's a great
features.
thing, you know, even with that local photo group, just plug in with a local community. If you
Yep.
can't get a local community and you're a KelbyOne member, we have a whole community
We have a
section,
great online,
which is great
community.
for just helping you. And a lot of times what's great in there is I've noticed people join up because of their location. So then they'll meet up, and there's
Yep.
a lot of people that meet up. I just went on a trip and met up with a couple people just because I posted about the trip, and they were like, hey, I'm going to be there too.
Yep.
So
Also, if you go to Portugal,
you definitely go to
meet up with
Portugal.
Chiquinando.
Yeah. Chiquinando will take care of you.
I got number.
Okay. I failed to make a comment, or I gotta stop screen share. There we go. Okay, there we go. I meant to stop screen share. There was a comment on the last segment that I didn't make. Someone typed into Scott Kelby, how do I know if I'm getting any better at photography? And the first segment they brought up was, go back to your portfolio and look and see how your pictures have improved. Add to that portfolio new pictures that you've taken. So I thought that was quite interesting. So I guess you're all for joining a local photography club. And this last week, Dave Garner and myself went to Monument Valley. We had a terrific time. And what made the trip even more enjoyable was like 9 hours to get there. We had a great conversation as we went back and forth. So it was just fantastic. So are there any questions at all from anybody? Okay, I'll move on to the next segment.
So number 3 in our list is organize your backups. So I was talking to people. I was at this ClickCon event and all. I'm talking to people, and it was funny how they're sharing their stories of, yeah, I mean, I've got these multiple drives, and I have the and like
Yeah,
and
I'm not really
tell
sure.
they're
Yeah, they're
concerned.
just concerned. Yeah.
They're concerned. They're worried. Do I have everything backed up? So what I would say is, if you could take some time to organize your backups to where you know, for example, you're really backed up. Now, I have multiple backups. I've got now a RAID that backs up to an external drive. I have another drive here. That's my drive. I've got a cloud backup. Probably have more than I should. But anyway,
I have the same.
getting
I
your
have the
backups
same.
organized.
We're just over backup them.
Pardon me.
But yeah,
organizing your backups makes a huge difference. You're going to sleep better at night. You're going to know you're supposed to protect it. I'm telling you, this is an easy thing to do. We've got classes on it on KelbyOne. I've got organization classes. I'm telling you.
Well, I just saw a comment actually about that, talking about, or Kevin was talking about how one thing that made me a better photographer this year was following Scott's how to back up and organize your travel photos. So there you go. Just came back from Oshkosh Air Show and organized my photographs. Organizing my photographs with Breeze this year.
I love to hear that.
He's using the system, right? Because if you use a system and you back it up and you consistently use that same system, it's very easy. I know we use the same system to back up. It is the system you taught. And it's so easy because I meet photographers who have this. I don't want you to have anxiety over your photos. Just make it easy. You store it in these folder structure. You store it this way. And you never have to worry about, are my things backed up? And then a lot of times what we're doing is like with Backblaze, we're having it just monitor that folder. When it throws new images go in the folder, it just automatically goes up. I never have to worry about it. That's what you want.
All right, number 4.
Any discussion, questions? Well, backing up is huge. Making sure that you've got backed up. I'm on a Mac, and so I have 1 for Time Machine, and then 2, all of my JPEGs go up to Google Photos. So that gives me at least 3 backups: the hard drive, Time Machine, and then cloud. So 3 is a good number, and then so I'm big on backups. And seeing the way that things happen in our lives and disasters that can affect some people, not only should you have a backup, backup to the cloud. That's one way. The other thing is to have a couple backups, one that you work off of, and another backup that you would have offsite. So every so often you do a backup and make sure that you have it in another place. So if you have a flood, a fire, or something like that, you won't lose all your images. So
when I was actually in photography business, I actually had a couple of folders that I lost because they were on a hard drive that went bad, and I ended up losing two wedding pictures, 2 wedding folders. And so that really pushed me to go ahead and back up as much as possible.
Thank you, Carlos. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, the portable hard drives are great if you're traveling, but they really don't work as well for permanently backing up And there's been some problems with some of them corrupting pretty easily. And I did have the same thing that Carlos had happen. I had gotten back from India and lost my shots on that. Fortunately, I had backed it up. But be careful with those portable hard drives. They're not built for endurance.
You need to back up at least 2 or 3 different places, not only the actual hard drive, but actually going up to the cloud and to another place. Right now, what I do is I use Backblaze, I use iCloud, and I use also my local portable drives to back up.
Thank you. Next section.
Okay, this one's big. Plan your photo shoots. I know there's so many of you that like to just you love to just go out and like, oh, I'm just going like I'm gonna just go make photos.
Gonna wing it.
And that's good. I mean, I have no problem with that. But if you have a bar to shoot for, if you have something to actually planning out what your frame is going to look like, your photos will get better. I promise you. Especially what's going to happen is you're going to start thinking, well, what's my subject? What's my subject? Because a lot of people, though, what I see them do is they're walking around trying to find an interesting subject. I find that photographers, they're spending a lot of time, and I go to show up to a location and I've got a pin already set and I'm walking and I can see them. They're looking and they're looking and they're looking. And then what happens, and this happens a lot, especially at national parks where there's certain parks that, they just have like this view and that's the view. Well, I know what spot that's at. I'm ready to go. They're looking and they're looking to plan out that. And then by the time they get to the same spot I'm at, because I've already shot, I'm packing up and leaving because the lights changed. And they don't get the shot because they were looking for the shot because they didn't plan. Yeah. And I find that over and over again. It's the same with like model shoots. If you don't have the right model, the right dress, the right location, you could have all those things, but you got to put it together. So planning your photo shoots, putting some effort into, I'm going to make a shot. Like do that this year. Plan. I don't care what it is. Like if it's a model shoot, hire the model, get the dress. Get in the right location, get the plan, do it. Like that will make your photography better.
One thing I noticed, this happens a lot in street photography.
Mm-hmm.
So, like people will just go out and they go, okay, I'm going to do street photography today. And they show up in a location and they walk around.
Mm-hmm.
You know what their plan is? Hope I get lucky. That's your photography plan. Your plan is, I'm going to go out and see if I get lucky. Maybe I get something, maybe I don't. What are your chances of success if you're just going out there and hoping to get lucky? But if you go, all right, today I'm just going to shoot shadows. I'm just going to shoot the color yellow. I'm just going to shoot people's hands. I'm just going to, like when you go out there with a plan, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a sophisticated plan, but when you say, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to shoot contrast, I'm going to look for contrasting colors or whatever it is. We've got classes galore on street photography. When you see one of those things and you go out and whatever it is, does not have to be elaborate, pick a topic, your chances of success go through the roof. Otherwise, like Eric says, you're just going out and you'll see what happens. And usually what happens is you come back disappointed.
Yep. And one of the people that people say they look to and all, who I think is actually one of the biggest planners, but nobody thinks is a planner, is Jay Mizell. When you look at how Jay, I got to see the behind the scenes of how Jay's mind works. We did classes with him.
Yep.
We spent a whole week in Paris with him. We spent days in New York with him. You're observing him. His mind is constantly planning. He's looking at backgrounds. He's looking at patterns. He sees, like I remember him seeing, and we were like, what does he see? And all this. And he saw the contrast or the color differences between the background and people walking by.
Yep.
So he's sitting there for 20 minutes doing this stuff. And
Waiting
you're
for
going,
someone to
you're
walk
going,
by
what,
with a
what is he
perfect
doing?
color.
What are you doing? And then when he shows you the shot, it's like,
You're like, oh my
God.
gosh.
You know who has that too? Is Mimo. Mimo does that
Oh
too.
yes, Mimo
Where
does.
you'll
Mimo's
be
so
like,
good.
what is he doing? What is he doing? And then
Then you
he'll
see
show
the
you the shot,
shot,
and you'll be
you're
like,
like,
oh my gosh, it was right there. And he was planning it the whole time.
Yep.
And he's planning it, and he's planning it, he's perfecting it. And when you plan that and do that intentionally, your photography will get better.
All right, we're gonna do one more before we take a break. All right, number 5 is stop care.
There we go. So what are your thoughts about that? Planning your shoots?
Absolutely must plan. Must plan. I noticed that when it's been a while since I was doing some photo shoots, but when I had a photo shoot and I planned as to what I was going to go ahead and photograph, my results were much better because I had an idea as to what I wanted to go ahead and capture ahead of actually doing it. And so when I didn't do it, I came up with caca, okay? And so when you plan it and you have an idea as to what is it that you want to do, you get a much better results.
When Dave and I went to Monument Valley this last week to shoot the annular eclipse, there were a couple things that happened. We had planned to do a couple tours in the valley, and one of them was a starlight tour where we could photograph the night sky there. And the unfortunate thing is they had clouds that got in the way that evening, and that ended up getting canceled. By the way, I could only find one shot that I could see that I could have the solar eclipse in the photo. And then I found out later on, well, that tour was $135, and there was only one place that they could shoot. And then the other thing I found out that the Navajo and the Hopi Indians, they do not go outside during an eclipse. They shut down Monument Valley. How do you like that for a twist? So you plan, you got to also have a backup plan when you go. Dave had a wonderful time with me, and I had a wonderful time with them going out there and shooting. We got some really nice images. So any other questions at all?
I have one. I do. This is Chris Vanderlyn, and I went to Chicago last week for business. So of course I want to take my camera to the big city, and every opportunity. I had a half hour before I had to report to work. So it was a dismal day, an overcast day, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I can just shoot it in black and white and get some good to learn, more a little bit about that, shooting in a not optimal colors. But then I saw an opportunity, and I'm thinking it wasn't planned, but it just was right there in front of me. Shoot umbrellas because it's kind of rainy, and it really turned out to be a good little group of pictures.
Yeah, when you're dealt lemons, you can make lemonade, I guess. Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
But people don't, what is it, plan to fail, they fail to plan. And I think that goes with photography as well. But at the same time, you hold that on, in the other tension is you got to be able to be flexible and bob and weave. Just because you have a plan doesn't mean that's exactly how it's going to go. Anybody who's, reality kicks in, and you've got to be flexible. So plan A, plan B, plan C is always a good idea. But again, that's assuming you're planning.
And I'd like to add something to that. I still remember Tin Man Lee talked about, when you get out, if you're a wildlife photographer like I am, there's often crowds and everybody goes to one area. And sometimes the better shot is not where anybody else is. So really thinking outside of the box and not just going for the immediate shot that everybody likes. Looking, for me, as I grow as a photographer, I look at different angles, different backgrounds. I pay attention to a lot more than I used to pay attention to when I started. So sometimes not just planning the shot, but thinking outside of your plan is a good idea.
Totally agree, Ann. If everybody zigs, you zag. And I also find some of the best photos is if you turn 180 degrees, sometimes they're behind you.
Hmm.
One of the things I found fascinating was sitting there and photographing the annular eclipse. Someone told me the light would dip during the full eclipse when the moon was solidly in front of the sun. We could not see that, but I decided to put my other camera up on a tripod and photograph the backside of Monument Valley. And you know what? You could see the light dim. And that was really interesting to sit there and see. It actually did dim. And it was also fascinating while we were there at Forest Gump Viewpoint, the number of people that came up and wanted to look at the eclipse on the back of the cameras because we were using a 600 millimeter. And they really enjoyed that. We had a good time doing that. It was a lot of fun. It made it really enjoyable. Any other comments? Okay. Back to square sheet. Let's share the screen. I like this next section.
Too much gear.
Mhm.
Right. So I just came from this conference up in Chicago, and I'm not kidding. I've never seen more gear that people brought for portrait shoots in my life. You would the elevator door would open and there'd be a woman in there with 3 carts just full of stuff, right? And it just reminds me, you know, it's like I know that like everybody wants to go out and buy a 4-light kit.
Yeah.
Just get one
I'm
light.
telling you, there's amazing things you could do with one
Just
light.
get one light.
Amazing.
And you're going to take a big camera bag, and you know what it is. And I know that there's a fear. I don't want to go out on a shoot and not have the one thing I need, right? The chances of you going out and missing the one thing that you need, if you have a camera and a lens, you'll be able to make a shot, right? And you might not have the lens if you're, oh, I wish I had my 85 instead of whatever. You could still make a great shot. You don't have to bring the kitchen sink. Now,
Okay.
if you're on a commercial job, you got a client there, bring the house. They're paying you to bring the house. They want to see you have a lot of equipment.
All right.
But otherwise, stop taking so much flipping gear. Stop taking 5 lenses to go on vacation. Stop taking 6 lenses for a landscape shoot. I mean,
Yeah.
oh yeah. All right. What do you
So
got?
I got something. Do they have my screen? They should have my. Okay, yeah. So Russell Brown, this is a great example. This guy, look at like these. This is one light with a phone. Right?
Wow.
This is his phone. One light, right? Phone. One light. Like that's what he's doing. He's doing all this work with a phone. I mean, it is
Russell's so good.
amazing. I mean, he's doing one light
Seriously
fill,
underrated.
light fill, right? With a phone. Like it can be done. This can be done very easy. But I agree with Scott on this. This is the gear cripples us. It's like, and then what happens is you're wearing it and you're wearing yourself down. And I used to be one of these people, and I've really started to simplify. And people like that, where I'm looking at it and going, yeah, I overthink it too many times. I just need a fill light. I don't need anything crazy.
That's true.
Yep.
All right.
Well, do any of you ever go on a trip or a vacation or a shoot and you can't figure out what the heck I want to take, and so you pack all your bag and just take everything?
Never.
Guilty.
What was the name of the
And
photographer?
what do you do when you take a trip?
Who are you talking to, Russell?
I was talking to you, Ann.
Oh, I am, this
What
is,
do you shoot with, Ann?
he wrote this for me. He said, I'm terrible. I am terrible. And I'm getting old. I can't carry all this stuff all the time, but I can't decide what lens I need, which tripod. Do I want the skimmer pod, this? And then I've got a husband who enables me. Oh, we'll take the wagon. And then pretty soon all the fun is gone because you're lugging gear instead of walking around in nature. So yeah, totally. This is very good advice.
No, I will make a comment about Ann's comment about a wagon. When I went to shoot the Inland Empire Railroad Museum. We did a nice shoot there. I saw a couple people. One had a baby buggy, a little baby stroller, and they put all their camera gear in that, and they strolled it along so they wouldn't have to hold it all. Another person brought a wagon. What did I go on and do? I bought a wagon so I could throw my gear in and have to carry it if I knew where I was going.
I'm getting ready to go on a trip to Chicago next week. And I've been thinking, do I take my DSLR or my phone? And I think I'm going to just take my phone.
Well, you know what it does? It inspires you to be a little more confident in knowing your camera, because what he said made a lot of sense to me. If you have one camera, you'll make it work, and you're forced to be better at what you have if you're not thinking that you need all this gear to be good.
Very good. Okay, we'll go to the next segment now.
Let's
Number
get to
6.
number 6, Mr.
So
Kenny.
this is a great one. Get honest critiques. We really need to be putting our work out there, not with our loved ones, not with our friends, because one, you ask your friend something, there may be the honesty is going to be limited to their expertise,
Yeah.
which is just, hey, I know you're a photographer and I know you enjoy this, so good shot. That's about their husband, wife, loved one. They're going to be like, this is great. I love how passionate you are about your photography, but that's not making your photos any better. That's not helping you.
No.
You need to get with people that are going to give you honest critiques. Now, we have that here on the grid where we do critiques, where we do blind critiques. You can also pay somebody to do a critique who is another photographer, or just get plugged in with a community of people that will actually give you honest critiques. Like, be able to talk to like, I know with my friends who are photographers, we're photographer friends, not that is, we're showing each other's work to say, hey, help me out here. What do you see that I don't see?
Yep.
Because that's what's going to help your work tremendously, is you seeing, like, when we would see that shot that Scott took, me be able to say to Scott, like, hey man, do you got any shots where the legs aren't cropped off? That would be like, well, but I mean, that's helpful to you. But that's helpful for you. That would be something that would help your work.
Yes.
And just sitting there and just telling, there's some people that I've had in my life that they've gone so far with their photography and at such a level, and you're going, man, nobody's been honest with you for like 10 years. Yep. And then it's so hard for us to have to be like the buzzkill of like, I know you're showing me your work because we're a friend of a friend said I do this and all, and I got to tell you, like, there's stuff that's totally missing here. I can help you.
Yep.
But you've been lied to for 10
you don't
years.
want to hear it.
And then it becomes even harder, because if you don't do this along the way, what Scott just said, you become like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm an artist. That's the one. This is my photography is my art.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, buddy, I'm not going to critique your work anymore. You're closed off.
And I know people that are phenomenal at understanding photography. Like, they so understand the relationship between ISO and aperture and shutter speed, and they could disassemble their camera. You could blindfold them. They could put it back together, but their photography is not good. It's just not good, and you can't tell them. They would never believe you. They would think. Now, there is something important about getting a critique. You need to get a critique from someone that you believe has your best interests at heart. That is really, really important. Like, for example, I could go to Eric and say, Eric, what do you think of this shots? And I know that Eric is going to give me a critique on, hey, you could do this better, or maybe you should try that, or that's money. And I know that if Eric says it, he's saying it from a good place of wanting to move me forward. Mm-hmm. But I've also turned down critiques. I had a very famous photographer offer to give me a critique, but I knew why he wanted to give me the critique. He didn't want to give me critique to help me. He wanted to give me critique to move me down.
Yeah, you do have to watch that. You do have to watch that.
You got to be careful, because they want to raise themselves up by moving you down. And if they start to feel like you're getting in their territory, they will come out of the woodworks to offer critiques so they can make sure that you think you're getting up here. No, I'm pushing you back down. So be careful about who you choose. It's very
Now,
important.
I will say, great place for that. Again, sound like a broken record, but the KelbyOne community is a great place. We have a whole section in there just about critiques where somebody can go in and they can even like at Scott, at Eric, like they can ask us questions in there. You know, they're members, they post for other members that give critiques. We'll jump in and give critiques. And as long as you're open to the process of getting a critique, then you'll get something out of it. And I guarantee you will. So if you're a KelbyOne member going in there and just saying in that critique community, if you have a picture that you're like, I don't know if this is good, I don't know if I'm making progress, but the other thing is want the critique. Like you have to want to get feedback because you're gonna get some critiques, and you have to have a thick skin, and you have to go like, hey, maybe this wasn't as good as I thought it was. But people are gonna do it in a way that's respectful and not gonna tear you down. They want to lift you up.
All right, number 7. Pardon me. Number 7 is
I see we have some more comments in the chat. Bruce, can you look and see what the chat says?
Yeah, they're trying to figure out who the photographer was with the cell phone.
Oh, you know, I can go back at the end and send you an email.
That was Carlos.
It was Carlos
Yes,
who asked the question, or you were the photographer?
I was a photographer.
That brought up an interesting question. So I can get you the name of the photographer because I can play this back slower, okay? But one of the other things I thought of as I was listening to Scott and Eric was the fact if you want to improve your photography, one of the things you can do is go visit other photographers' websites and see what they're doing, see what they're posting. I get lots of good ideas from seeing other people's websites or posts or things on Facebook. And I say, oh, wow, I can go do that. So, you know, there you go. Any other questions at all this evening for this segment? Okay. Moving along, number 7.
enter competitions. This is a great thing. And I've been telling people this for years. And I didn't do it for many, many years, and I do it regularly now. But I'll tell you what, it is great for you to enter competitions because number one, you're being judged by someone who doesn't really know you. You're being judged almost always by a panel that are looking at your work. Could be 6 people, 8 people. It could be a big panel. They're looking at your work. If they don't choose you as a winner, they don't send you a nasty note. They do not send you a note that says your stuff sucked and that's why it didn't win. They just say, oh gosh, thank you so much for entering. Sorry you didn't win. They could not be more apologetic that you didn't win. Now, there are certain competitions that part of the competition is you pay an entry fee. Always pay an entry fee. That's the way competitions work. They cost a lot of money to run. They cost a lot of money. They're not the free ones. Just enter. And let's say you pay $25. They may say, at the end, do you want one of our judges to give you a full critique of your work? It's an extra $35 or whatever. And you can have the judges, one of the judges or a panel of judges, give you a written critique of your work. So that is also you'll see that in certain competitions. But entering your work into competitions is a great way to elevate your career, especially if you win one. And even if you just, win a category, you don't have to win best of show. They give a lot of prizes out, right? Because they have multiple categories. They may have 9 categories and 9 winners and then finalists, But what do you have to lose? Literally, they're not going to, no one's going to tell you your stuff was bad unless you ask for the critique, and probably not even then. If you're at a stage in your life where you will want to enter a competition then. But go look at, a lot of competitions will show, here are the people that are entering it, and it'll just show random images. It won't say this is Bob, this is Cindy. It'll just show a bunch of images. And you can get an idea. Like you'll see sometimes winners and you'll go, I got better shots than that. Well, why didn't you enter? If you got better shots, you blew it. You know what the difference between you and they are? And the award winner is? They had the guts to enter and you didn't.
Well, and just making
Enter.
sure though, before that, if you're back there going, I got better shots than that, are you asking for critiques from other people? Because that's another thing is there's a lot of people who get to that point where I have better shots than that, but they don't realize that they don't have better shots than that their shot isn't better.
Or the opposite.
Yeah.
They don't realize how good their shots are. Like you should
a lot
be
of
in
people.
competition.
If you're getting critiques from honest critiques and people are going, this is great. If you're printing your work or you're doing your work, and people are really like, I love what you're doing. Like you're probably at that stage where you need to be entering competitions because you're losing out because other people are entering and you're not.
I feel bad for this next one with Jackie's comment here.
Yeah. Well, Jackie said, the best advice I ever got on my photography was when Scott slammed my images on Vine critiques.
I'm sorry, Jackie, but I guess it helped. And so sometimes it does help for someone to be really honest and I hate to hurt anybody's feelings. That's why we do the blind. We don't want to call anybody out and make them feel bad.
Well, and Susan's saying number 6 is great. I learned so much from watching critiques, including blind photo critiques and how it added your photo. Like that's what it's about. Like even watching other people get critiqued is a good exercise.
Yeah, Jack's asking, where do you go to enter worthwhile competitions? I can tell you the big competition, the very big one is the Sony Image Awards every year. You do not have to shoot on Sony. I always thought I never entered because I thought you had to shoot Sony. You don't.
Me too.
Because they'll list the winners and it's shot on a Canon, shot on a Nikon, whatever. But it is the most, I think, one of the most prestigious awards. There's also HIPAA in Dubai runs a really big awards contest. Some of the awards are $25,000 for one of my buddies won one. But you can. It used to be pop photo.
Then there's different genres. You even have
there's all different genres.
Like in my genre, like Aviation Week has a photo contest that I enter and stuff like that.
So there's all kinds of them out there. You can find them on the web, and there's a lot of websites that will list all of the competitions for the year. And unfortunately, outside of some of the obvious ones, you'll have to kind of figure out, is this legit? Most of them are legit. I've never heard someone say, I got into a photo contest and the whole thing was a sham. Now, they might say, I wish they'd pick mine or whatever, but I haven't had anyone said the whole thing's a ripoff. I mean, they're probably out there, but I think if you see it out there and you can do the research, they're usually okay.
Yeah, like we have a competition going right now for Photoshop World. There's the Guru Awards. And we've had tons of people that have over the years that have come out of winning the Guru Awards and gone on to. We have a lot of KelbyOne instructors. Started out 15 years ago winning Guru Awards.
They won a Guru Award and
like,
fell in
what
love
are
with
they
their work.
doing?
So many. Also, did you talk about the magazine spotlight pages?
No, we have not.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So we have with the Photoshop User Magazine, we have the artist spotlight for the magazine covers. And we're always looking for people who are looking to submit their great work that we'd like to feature in Photoshop User Magazine. If you go over to that page over at members.kelbyone.com/get featured, you can enter your work to get featured in Photoshop User Magazine.
Yeah. All righty. We are going to take one last break here. When we come back, we still have our shout outs. We haven't done our shout outs. We haven't done our giveaways. And we've got three more of the topics. So stick around. We'll be back in just a sec. Don't go away.
I see we've had a couple more comments put into the chat. Any discussions on entering competitions? We have one coming up.
I have something like I think the last two really go well together. Like I was going to even say it before I knew the honest critiques. That's where you get them, and I've really enjoyed entering a couple times this last year, and then also just watching because they are completely anonymous and there are mixed levels, and nobody knows anything about who the photographer is unless we've posted and seen each other's photos on social media or something, or we just happen to know someone who took the picture. It's been really useful. Like I learned a lot from that. So I think the last two really go well together. I think that's great advice.
I think one of the things that I've enjoyed at our competitions over the years is, you look at some of the best of shows and you say, oh, wow, that's really great. But it's the ones that aren't perfect or they have issues with the photos that I learn more from, because I learn, oh, here are things that we might be able to do better. So by sometimes looking at a less than perfect photo, you get to learn more about how to make a better presentation on your own photo, what works, what doesn't. And sometimes, you could also disagree with the judge about what the comments were that they said about your image. Okay. Any comments from the chat at all, or any other comments from anybody? Okay, on to the next segment.
All right, number 8 of our 10 things, Mr. K.
8, print your work. This is another
Yes.
one. A lot of people, they don't know the power of printing their work, because what's great is when you print your work, not only does this help you to where it's tangible, but it actually makes it different for other people. I found if the best way to get others, like family members especially, excited with how much your hobbies, how special your hobby is, if you print the work and you show, like,
Print
look at
big.
this beautiful
Print
thing
it big.
that you're able to create, it becomes tangible, and there's more of a worth when it becomes that tangible.
Yep.
It's not just sitting on a phone or sitting on a
And it
computer.
makes the greatest
you know.
gift.
And it actually is a great
Oh,
gift. If you're a
wonderful
photographer and you're not using your gift of photography to share that gift with other people through a print, you're missing out.
Any discussions on that? You see in my background, I actually photoshopped a background in, but these are some of the pictures that I enjoy over the years, and I just put them up there. So, well, when you guys are looking at me and listening to me, you can see some of my work in the background. But it's when you sit back and you actually print a work, it really becomes much more real. A photo isn't really a photo until you really print it.
There's a couple of questions in the comment. Where do people like to print their photos? And then Cheryl asks, what is a good printer nearby? Now I can answer that. I use Pic Pro Labs in San Bernardino. Kind of have to put on your flak jacket before you go down there. But it's over by the Branding Iron, Route 66ers baseball games, but they do a great job for me. I know Rick Strobaugh uses Bay Photos for his they're fantastic. They're just expensive, but they do an excellent job. Russ, where do you get your photos made?
Well, one of the places, if I want to do something, even for the ones I put down at the Redlands Art Association, I'll go down to CVS Pharmacy and print them up there, because they use an Epson printer, and it's like 12 or 13 or 14 bucks to have it printed, and they do a nice job of the print. So, but if I want something more professional, well, I use also Bay Photos. So, I also have I have a Canon Pro 100 printer that I use for some of my prints too. If I don't have the time, or for example, the printers are all down at CVS pharmacies, but I won't make that. I was going to make a comment, but I'm not going to badmouth somebody, so I'll leave that one go. But if you want some nice 4x6s, if you upload your images to Walmart, you can get them for 12 cents a piece. That's a great deal. That's the cheapest I found for 4x6.
The Scott Kelby has a whole segment on printing in one of the, I think it was a Lightroom conference I took. And he recommends some real high-end ones. And he also recommended MPix, it's just spelled MPIX. And I've been using them, and by far they're better to me than Bay Photo. Now, maybe my photography was also better, but the quality was outstanding and the prices are reasonable and they have a lot of sales. And they're like a subsidiary of one of the real high-end photography shops. So you might want to try them too if you are looking for like an art festival or something nicer that you want to print for.
And can you put that in the, oh, MPix, you already put that in the, somebody put that in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
was Paul Martinez. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
I use Pro Prints for all of my canvas work. They do an excellent job.
Any other discussions, thoughts? Appreciate all your suggestions. Thank you all very much.
True. Number 9.
And this one leads right into it.
Start selling your work. There has never been an easier way for photographers to sell their work than there is today. There are all kinds of places like SmugMug that will basically, they take an 85-15 split. They handle everything. They handle the printing, the mounting, the shipping, the customer service, everything. Artstorefronts.com. Artstorefronts.com. They basically take over your marketing. So they
Yes,
set
you
up a
wanna do that?
website for
Yeah.
you. They do everything. They're not cheap, but you're hiring a professional marketing service to go out and sell your work. I have friends that have been using them. They rave about them, and they're super. They've really got it down. There are so many different ways for you to go online, and so of course you could sell it at Etsy and things like that. But then a lot of it is on you to print it and package it and do the customer service and hope that it gets there and all. It's nice to have somebody else do all that. Squarespace, you can set up a site there, start selling your stuff. Squarespace will take your credit card, but then they just send you an email that says you need to go print and wrap and ship and you
Yeah.
get customer service to all this. But
I
there's
really
so
do
many
like
ways.
the SmugMug
SmugMug.
or Art Storefront way, where you as the photographer are just making great work, putting it out there. Then you still have to market it. You still have to like get people to buy your work. They're just not going to stumble across it. But if you start selling your work, like if you were that person who was doing sports photography, youth sports photography, well, there you go. A way to upsell this would be to even augment that with something like an art storefront where you could have these families that have these awesome pictures, then want a framed work. And then what happens is you're just getting so much more money out of that print. When somebody buys a metal, like nice, I mean, I'm like cha-ching, cha-ching when that store goes, because a lot of times you're selling like the $40 print.
Right.
But then there's times when somebody, like I had like last week, it was like, you have that person, pop through and it's like a $600 print. And you're like, yep, that's good. Because when you're taking that split.
Number 10.
I see some more comments in our chat. Any comments from anybody? Thoughts about printing your work, selling your work, excuse me.
I'm a big fan of selling your work. Redlands Art Association is a great place to get started with that. Can't recommend them enough. Judith, you want to chime in here? Judith Sparhawk works there and has been a great encouragement to me over the years. You're still muted. You can just hold down your space button and.
Why don't you unmute her, Bruce? Who's taking care of that tonight? Is that you?
I've asked.
Okay.
There you go.
I unmuted myself. Yeah, the Art Association is a place to start. I've been selling there for 25 years. You don't sell, hundreds and hundreds of pieces usually, although if you enter some of the outdoor shows, you get a chance to have a lot more of your work showing, and you can sell quite a bit. It just depends on what you're up for and how much work you're willing to do and that kind of thing. But it's a good way to. I also have my website's on SmugMug, and I do sell some things through SmugMug, and get orders off of SmugMug that some of them are local orders, and I go ahead and fill them privately without going through the website, but they see something on the website and they contact me. So there's lots of different ways to do it. I'm not the best promoter in the world. Bruce is a promoter. He's the really, really good one at getting out there and doing it. But I haven't had to capitalize my photo account now for about 15 years. So I'm making enough money that I can buy what I need. And I'm not a big splurger on equipment. So I don't spend a ton of money that way. But I haven't had to spend money out of pocket for quite a long time. So that's always a good thing.
It's great to have a hobby that pays for itself.
Yes.
And another thought really quick, a couple of our members that do fairly well in selling their work is Dave Fickey and Rick Strabaugh. They've actually been able to go and sit in some galleries where they put their work, and then what the owner does is someone walks in and says, "Oh, I'd like that print," but they're on vacation. They can't take the print with them. But the thing is, they go, they order it, it gets shipped to them. Gallery gets their portion, Rick gets their portion, and part of what they do in the gallery is they sit there and they spend a couple of days during the month at the gallery spending time there. So that's part of sometimes getting your work in the gallery is you've got to sit there and spend time and donate time to the proprietor to get your work displayed. And then they give you a space. By the way, they also charge you for that space. Any other thoughts or comments?
It's a great feeling when somebody wants to give you money for your work. It's humbling. It's really nice.
I would also just like to add, when I was in California, I was part of the Red Dirt Festival. They no longer have that festival, and I made money. I surprised myself sometimes, but what was really the biggest joy was to have people come up and talk to you about your work and ask where you took this, and see the excitement that they had. And that just brought me, I think, more pleasure than the money. I probably would have felt bad if I didn't make money, but that's a great feeling to have people like your work and tell you. And I think festivals are really nice places to start because they don't always charge as much as a gallery, and they're not as stuffy. There are people coming through and nobody's obliged to stop. So when they stop and they're really interested, it's a real compliment.
One of the biggest prints I've ever sold has been a canvas print that I did for my brother and sister-in-law of a pier up in Alpos, California, that last winter it got washed away and they decided not to rebuild it, but it was sunset, and they just loved the image, and so I printed it up for them. The only unfortunate thing is nobody but them will see it because they wanted it above their headboard in their bedroom. And I felt sad about that. No one will know that I've ever taken that picture and have that big of a picture. I also gave it to them at a wholesale price too. And they also like that too. So that was a nice thing. So, okay, last section.
All right, take on a personal project. This is something that I do with my photography every year. So I always have like some kind of personal project that I'm doing. It's usually to perfect like certain, like a couple years ago, one of my personal projects was I really wanted to perfect light painting, with my night photography. So I took every opportunity I had that year to learn everything I could about that.
If you got good
And
at
it's
that,
right, well, now
you're
you're looking
teaching
3
it.
or 4 years later, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, now I kind of like mastered that. But it took
King
it took
of
like
light paint.
getting focused. So if you take those times to create those personal projects for yourself, where you can really dive into something deep and be able to like really focus. Right now, I can tell you this year, my focus has been on lately, and my personal project is about using AI with photography. I've
Yep.
really been interested in that concept, so I'm diving into it and getting kind of deep with it.
And there, ladies and gentlemen, you have your 10 things you can do for the rest of 2023 put some of those things into play, put them all into play.
Mhm.
There's probably people that saw 10 and go, I'm not doing any of those. There's probably some of you that saw 5, some that saw 3, 2, or 1, but every one of them will move you a little further down the road. So give them some thought and some consideration. Now, you know what else we have? A host of winners of fun
Yes,
stuff.
we do.
By the
Let's
way,
see.
I just want to mention, we give away a lot of stuff every show. Spread the word, tell people, give away good stuff.
Oh. They're giving.
They should
away
learn a
Lightroom
Lightroom tip today.
Nice.
Just beautiful segue. All right, so
Okay, I'm sorry. So on KelbyOne, on their grid programs, they do Photoshop and they do Lightroom tips. But that's the 10 things you can do to improve your photography. Someone during the show asked the question, how do I know if I'm getting better at my photography? And the first segment they said was, set up a portfolio. Well, if you set up a portfolio, go back and look at 24 of your best images. I've been going through the images that I've created over the last 20 years. And, I'm asking that question. Am I any better today than I was 20 years ago? And I have to say that my photography is getting better. But that's another grid program that you can go watch yourselves. You can go on YouTube and type up the grid, KelbyOne, and you can watch those YouTube broadcasts. It's free. You don't have to join KelbyOne. So do we have any other questions this evening?
Well, personal projects are a great thing that you can do. I love putting together. I have a personal project that I do every year as a calendar, and with that calendar, I do a Redlands calendar and an Astro calendar, and so it's the top 12 photos each year in those categories. And not only is it's a personal project, but then I go ahead and sell it. So it funds the photography as well. It checks several of those boxes. It's also an annual photographer. It's an annual personal project. So this is my 9th calendar. So I can look at my photos from 9 years ago and compare them to today, and you definitely do see a growth. At least I think so in my work. So it's very rewarding.
So I'm wondering now, I think we can go ahead and stop the recording, Bruce, if that's okay.